what do you do, or what would you recommend people watching or listening to this to be more intentional about what they're training on or what they're doing to get better?
Well, one thing is, listen, hard work does not guarantee success.
Yeah.
That's what I got to tell everybody. All right. Hard work does not guarantee success. Now, not working hard guarantees you're not going to have success. But there's a lot of individuals that are out working hard. Are you working hard on the right things? Are you working hard on improvement? Are you investing in yourself? Are you investing in your client?
Okay, my name's Sam Taggart. This is the DDD podcast, and we are here live in Salt Lake City, Utah with Tim Grover, the author of Relentless, and he's a sports enhancement. We don't like the word trainer because really he doesn't just train people. He changes their body, their soul, their mind to become the top performers, right?
Yeah, so you know what? It's kind of like building something. It's like an architect.
Yes.
You know, you have to...
Sports architect. That's
you kind of
cooler.
pay attention to everything. You pay attention to the physical, you pay attention to the mental, you pay attention to the nutrition, you pay attention to every single aspect. You draw the plan out, and then you have to get a team and you have to implement the plan either by yourself or whoever else you have around you to get that end result. So it's just to say it's no different than building a successful business, building a beautiful building, building a successful relationship. There has to be a plan, there has to be a design, there has to be thought. You put it down on paper, you draw it out, you implement it.
Love it, love it. So tell us, I mean, I'll give them a little like background because some people might not know who Tim Grover is. So trained Michael Jordan.
Yeah, the people out in Utah know who Michael Jordan and Tim Grover are. He's had a few moments out here.
I was going to say, I was like, okay, so you have... 97 was it? Byron Russell.
Byron Russell.
He's sitting here, does a push.
Was not a push.
It was a push.
Was not a push. Depends on the angle.
This was clearly a push. And you, after told Michael Jordan to push Byron Russell on the foul line to win a game-winning shot so that we don't win the I mean, this is a historical moment for the Jazz. Our only one shot of our only one NBA team, of our only moment of ever having a good team. I mean, we have a good team, but I mean, I'm talking an all-star team. Michael Jordan I was a depressed young child at that moment. I was very depressed. So train Michael Jordan, Dwyane Wade, Kobe Bryant, and many other professional athletes.
Yes.
And you know, to just be able to rub shoulders with those guys has got to feel kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, it is. But you know what? The thing that allowed me, I was never a starstruck person. You know, those people it's funny, when they look to hire somebody, they want somebody as obsessed as they are because they're so focused in on what they're doing. They need somebody else to kind of take care of whatever else responsibility is to get them to that next level. So I was the individual that allowed them to focus in and pay attention to their basketball, to whatever they needed to do to get that end result. And it was just like, okay, your job is to handle this, this, and this. That way I don't have to worry about it. And I need you to handle it at the highest level, just the way I handle my practice, I handle my game preparation, I handle the end result. I need you to be just as obsessed and just as crazy about it as I am.
Love that. So let's like rewind a little bit to like little Tim Grover, like little you know, you didn't come from, you kind of had a cool story, an immigration story, like,
yes.
You know what I mean? So, you know, back up to you coming over to America. Where are you originally from?
I was born in London, England, but my parents are Indian.
Indian.
Yes.
Come to the States at what age?
I was 4.
4. And your dad was a doctor, pretty well known, was pretty successful outside of...
Yes, he was.
And then comes to the States on this American dream, right? Like, hey...
Yeah, he just like, as successful and as things were back home in India, he said, there's more. There's something better out there for myself and my family. And he chose this. He chose the States. And my mom was a nurse, and back in Chicago, and in that time in the late '60s, early '70s, there was a huge nursing shortage in different cities and in different states, and Chicago was one of them. So my mom was able to get a job. She was actually out in Chicago 2 years before we even got out there. So it was just my dad and my brother. We were actually in London, England at that time, and so he was raising us, my brother and I, by himself. And then when she got established and found a place and got everything going, my dad decided to make the transition for my brother and myself to come here. And, we came here, and, people know about the taxi story where he ran out of money, and just like every last cent he had, he told the cab driver, stop right here. And kids, we didn't know what was going on. And we found out later that he didn't have any more money, so he took the cab as far as he can. So we get out of the car, and carrying the suitcases and backpacks and whatever. Remember, back then the suitcases did not have wheels.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not like
and it wasn't like we were dropped off around the corner. We were dropped off quite a distance. But you figure it out, and when you see people do stuff like that, people say you don't remember stuff from your childhood. There's certain things that happen that are embedded with you forever. And that was a memory that's just been embedded in me from all the time, just to see an individual basically give up everything he had, start all over, and come here and decide to be more successful than he was in the past. And you just see stuff like that. And what's crazy about that is there's nothing special. It's just like people like, oh, you're gifted, no, it's not. These are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And that's what's crazy about this is when you look at the athletes that I've dealt with, yes, they were gifted from a physical standpoint, but they were still regular individuals that had to excel to get to where they were at. So the same mental mindset that my father had, that Michael had, Dwyane had, Kobe had, everybody has that ability. I don't care what you're doing. Everybody has that ability.
And you have this quote that's the road to paradise always starts in hell. And I think that it kind of probably goes along with that, right?
Listen, the road to paradise starts in hell, but it doesn't mean you have to stay there. But the most successful ones, they go revisit it because that's what toughens them up. They understand this. They understand the struggles. They like to go back and feel what it was. It'll be like an individual who makes it as a success in their business, or as an athlete that likes to go back to their hometown and see where they grew up and understand and still do those same things. So where I said you still have to remember that fight, and you have to train, and you have to prepare yourself as though you got out of it, but if you stop doing what you're doing, you're going to get pushed back in there. So you have two options. You can either visit it as a success, or it's going to come visit you again because you didn't continue to do everything you did to get out of it. So at one point or not, you're going to have to visit hell again at some point.
I love that. And do you feel like people that are unwilling to go back and visit their hell, that's one of their biggest roadblocks to really take their game to the next level?
Huge. Because it's what happens. You forget what you did to get there. That's what individuals have. They get complacent. They relax. All right. They get comfortable. It's in anything. It's in, taking your next level. If you're a salesperson, if you're in a relationship, remember how, if you're in a relationship, I use this as an example all the time. What did you do to get that significant other? All right. Yeah. And now once you got that significant other, you don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And then people understand, well, why is this relationship not working anymore? Well, it's the same thing if you're trying to advance in business, sports, whatever it is. Whatever you did to get there, how hard you worked. It's funny. You have these athletes, the greatest individuals that I've trained, that I've been around, that I've got a chance to study, they practice and play as though they're going to get cut that day. Like, they're not the superstars. They're like, they play and practice like, I'm not, if I don't do this, I'm not going to have this
Instead
job
of being
tomorrow.
like, I made it, now I got to be, I got that title, therefore I just get to coast now.
Yeah, so I have a saying, and I talk about this in the book Relentless. It's funny when individuals come up, professional athletes, when they get a chance to shake the commissioner's hand at the draft. And I said, congratulations, this is the end of your career. Because most individuals, I've made it. I've exhaled. They're like, oh, I'm finally here. It's just like when you get that job or you become a partner in your company or whatever, all right, do you think, is that where you think all the pressure's off of you? No, that's where the pressure really excels. And that's the difference between somebody that continues to grow and wants to get better. They're never satisfied. They're always obsessed with wanting a little bit more. There's a great story in the book where usually after every draft, when an individual gets drafted, somebody usually throws them a big draft party. There's this big hoopla. Everybody goes out, oh, you made it. Not everyone celebrates and all this other stuff. Kobe Bryant at age 17, the day he got drafted, he didn't have a draft party. He went and worked out.
Wow.
At age 17. Then people want to know why he won 5 championships, played in the league for 20 years. There's always a reason for your success. There's always a reason for your failures. If you look far enough and you're willing to look deep inside yourself and deep into the individuals you're surrounded with, you will understand why you are in either your current situation or your successful situation, or why you can't get to your next situation.
I love that. And I think a lot of people, we always hear those quotes of like, hey, Kobe was in the gym before practice and after practice. Michael Jordan was the guy. Who was it? I was interviewing Mark Eaton, I think, and I was asking him about Michael Jordan, and he's like, dude, it was mind-blowing to watch how, just resilient the guy was, where you'd find him shooting hoops after the game. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, what are you doing, Michael? Like, you won, like the game's over. And
right. But it was, with him it wasn't like if I played this excellent game, but now if I don't, the next game I play, regardless who the opponent is, if I play the same game the same way, it doesn't guarantee me the same result. If I play the next game better than I played this previous game, and I didn't make the same mistakes, my chances of the next result being a victory are better. And, you're in the big business of training individuals to be door-to-door individuals, to go in. It's the same mindset. If you knock on one door, and let's say you do close the deal, all right, if you knock on that same door and you go into it with the same mentality, you're not going to close that deal. Your mentality has to be elevated. It has to be at a higher level. So that's why I said there's no difference in what, as a sales individual, as the greatest athlete, you can train the same way. People always say, he's the first one. My athletes were the first ones at the gym and the last ones to leave. That's a key component of success in every business. Your most successful individuals, they're always the ones first at work, staying late, know how to stay focused. You don't have to tell them these things. They already know it. They already know these things. There's a big thing now you see where among pro athletes, the social media, they're always posting stuff about them working out. You're a pro athlete. Aren't you supposed to work out? I mean, seriously, isn't this?
It's like that's your job.
You're posting something you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. It's like, look at me, I'm at the gym.
Yeah, I mean, like,
of course you should be at the gym. You're a pro athlete.
Exactly. I mean, there's like,
awesome.
Wait a minute. So people used to ask me. Give me 1 second here. People used to ask me about, why Kobe. There wasn't a whole lot of social media when Michael was in, but when Kobe came out, there was a little bit. And they said, well, why don't you post stuff with him? I was like, listen. it's not a story that Kobe's in the gym working out, training, getting himself ready. It's a bigger story if he wasn't. So if I was literally posting stuff of him working out all the time, it would literally be 4 or 5 posts a day. It's a bigger story if I didn't post anything. So I was like, why does these individuals, they're so successful, they don't want accolades for stuff that they're supposed to do.
Love it. And I think in this job, we see that a lot. We see guys like, look at me, I'm out knocking. It's like, yeah, that's like that. Why would you post that? It's like your validation of doing what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
And I think we can relate that so well to what we do because I see it all the time. They're like, yep, got out in the cold today, went out and knocked, it's 30 degrees. You're like, and what if it was 22? Would you like, would have that changed something?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, were you not going to go to work today just cause? Like,
you actually, when the weather is better, see now the mentality is when the weather is worse, there's going to be less people knocking doors. So you have a more advantage to knock on more doors and to get that end result. So instead of out there putting it out there that you're out there, you should just be out there doing it. And at the end of the day, you should, if you want to put down,
got my 5. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. It's like,
okay, that's what it is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I love that. Mm-hmm. So other than like hours or doing the work, I think there's also a difference of why people pay you so much more money than pay like the dudes at Gold's Gym to be their personal trainer. There's got to be a difference in your ability to kind of be the sports enhancement. And I think that a lot of people, they struggle. They're like, I'm working harder than everybody else on my team. I am putting in that work, but I'm not even getting the result that's better than them. Or I can't seem to have the breakthrough. I can't seem to figure it out. So I think I want to talk on like the actual training aspect, like the intentional improvement, because there's that quote that you have that's Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, both of them made sure they came back better the next game or the next year. And I think a lot of people in this job, they get complacent, but I think there's also a level of intentional training and investment in themselves that shows true improvement. So like, speak to me on that for a minute. Like what is a trainer as a mentor helping these kind of high performing athletes or individuals or relationships or whatever you've coached on? What do you do, or what would you recommend people watching or listening to this to be more intentional about what they're training on or what they're doing to get better?
Well, one thing is, listen, hard work does not guarantee success.
Yeah.
That's what I got to tell everybody. All right. Hard work does not guarantee success. Now, not working hard guarantees you're not going to have success. But there's a lot of individuals that are out working hard. Are you working hard on the right things? Are you working hard on improvement? Are you investing in yourself? Are you investing in your client? I would spend so much money talking and just getting on planes and just going to different conferences and so forth, just so my athletes would have the competitive edge. So I would have that competitive edge. So you got to be, and it's not, most individuals, they talk about it's the investment of the money, like, oh, I'm not going to invest $200 in this conference, or I'm not going to pay to go here. You're looking at it totally the wrong way. It's not the money, all right? It's the time. That's what you're investing in. You have to invest your time into something that's valuable. Forget about the dollars. You can always make more money. You can figure out how to get $200, all right? You can't figure out always how to get more time. How do you get more time? You invest in yourself, in the things that matter to get that end result. That's the difference. People don't want to invest in themselves anymore. They have every single excuse. How can you invest in your product? How can you invest in becoming a better door-to-door individual if you're not willing to invest in yourself? How do you get better? By investing in yourself, by investing the time into yourself. Don't look at the dollar situation. The dollar situation will come, all right? Invest the time in the right things, the right attributes, the right weaknesses that you have that will get you more success down the line.
Love that. So knowing the lineup. So Tim Grover's speaking at Door to Door Con, and super excited to have you there.
Thank you.
You're also helping with our Mastermind Day, which is the first day. It's for more of an exclusive audience, and he's going to be really kind of one-on-one, more intimate coaching there, which I'm excited for. So if you haven't got your Mastermind ticket, make sure to upgrade to that. But I guess knowing the lineup, Coach Burt, Ed Milet, you, other speakers that there, what would you have to say to anybody that maybe is on the fence, that's sitting there going, I don't know if I want to spend for a plane ticket and a couple $100 and this? Like, what would you tell that person, like, with that mindset? Because I guarantee that people think that.
First of all, I hate that expression, on the fence. All right? Make a friggin' decision already. Be on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. If you're on the fence, okay, somebody else is going to teeter you off that fence, and they usually teeter you in the wrong direction.
Yes.
All right, because you're afraid to make that leap. It's like when you go to a swimming pool and you put your foot in the water. The water's freaking cold. It's cold. You come back 30 minutes later and you put your foot back in. It's still cold.
Yes.
All right? Either jump in or go back to your room.
Yes.
All right? So stop teetering. Because you know what? If you're teetering on the fence, all right, you've been teetering your whole life about every single decision you've made. All right? And for the first time, make a commitment in yourself. All right? The lineup alone, if you look at the three speakers that you met, forget about even me, just Michael Burt and Ed Milet. All right? Take me out of the equation. That should be enough to make you jump on. That should be enough. And if you don't have time for a plane ticket, get in the car. People figure things out.
Yeah.
That's the ability. That, you know what? People that teeter don't figure things out. All right. I've had so many individuals show up at things and just say, listen, once I get there, I'll figure it out.
Love that.
All right. And what is the difference between an individual that's super successful, the one that's somewhat successful, and the one that's not successful? Right. The one that's super successful figured more things out. The one that's not quite as successful, they didn't quite figure everything out. The one that's not successful at all, they haven't figured anything out. All right. People they want the perfect plan. You can write out the perfect plan, and I guarantee you it's never going to go that way. I've written out these elaborate workouts where I've studied individuals, methodology, different analytics for 6 months. I got into the gym. The first exercise I did with a client, I was like, this ain't working.
Yeah.
This ain't working. All right. Successful people, they make decisions, they commit, and they act. That's the difference. Make your decision to be here, commit to it, act on it, and you will see when you invest your time, what the end result will be.
I love that. Because you talk about, you trained Michael Jordan. I mean, that point in and of itself, right? Why would Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, pay somebody? And I'm sure you weren't cheap. I'm sure you weren't like, oh, it's $100 a session, like a typical trainer. Yeah. I'm sure he paid a pretty penny to say, I need help. Tiger Woods coached. You have Kobe Bryant, a coach. You have all these athletes or all these business leaders. I mean, think how many have businesses ever hired you to say,
yes,
coach my mindset?
Yes.
Like, yes, 100%. And they're probably paying a pretty penny to say, we're humble enough that we need to get better and learn. And I see that so often in our industry. People just say, oh, I need results spoon-fed to me, and I need to just somehow read a book and be amazing and get an amazing result. But it's like, no, you got to truly pay the professional. You got to pay the coach. You got to pay you got to pay to get trained. You got to spend the time and the money and be willing to take that and see an ROI maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
It's an investment. That's what I'm trying to think. If people, you're thinking short term, it's an investment. All right. And here's the thing. You have individuals, when I'm working with these elite athletes, or you have these people that are working with these, highly successful business people, do you know how difficult it is to show a 1% improvement in an individual like a Kobe Bryant? 1%. You know, they're not looking for, you're not going to elevate their game 50%. All right. You're not going to increase that. They're already so imagine the commitment that they have to put in and I have to put in my work to show that 1%. All right. You're getting a chance to come to this conference. And I guaranteed by just shaking hands of other individuals who have committed to this, you've already elevated your game 10%.
It is mind-blowing, and it's funny that you've never been to the conference yet, and you don't even know our industry as well, yet, that you've said that, because you know how many people send me messages on Instagram or Facebook that are like, dude, just by knowing that people are doing 1,000 pest control accounts or 500 alarms or, you know what I mean, in their world, just meeting those people, they're like, oh, I thought I was really good doing 100.
Yeah.
Like what it did is it put an arena together.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, I got to shake hands with guys doing 10 times the volume I am, or businesses that they're like, on the shiz, we did 10 million. And then you go meet a company that did 500 million and you're like, oh yeah, there's a whole nother level.
There's always another level. This is your chance to be in the room with those people.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. This is a chance to ask questions to the panel, to ask questions to the speakers, to ask questions to people who are doing stuff better and a bigger volume that you are. They may have an answer that you've been looking for, and a 5-minute conversation with them, you'd be like, I didn't even think about it.
100%. So let's talk about the training aspect. So Michael, you're not you played ball. You played D1.
Yes, I did.
Better than Michael Jordan, though?
No, nobody played basketball better than him.
so you're a D1 basketball player. So you had a little bit of knowledge of the game, obviously.
Right.
What makes you worthy to coach or train you know what I mean? A lot of people get in the mindset of, well, he isn't a better basketball player than me. Why would I pay him to be my trainer? Does that make sense? Like,
it does.
I think a lot of people have that.
It does, but here's the thing. If you do that, you're closed-minded to new information. And the one thing I've learned, the greatest athletes out there, they're always willing to learn. They always want to get better. But they know the difference between an individual that's giving them BS than an individual that actually knows what they're talking about. So with Michael, it was just like, I gave him the plan of what we were going to do from a physical standpoint. I say, hey, listen,
because you had to sell Michael. I mean, that's a sell. You're a salesman. Yeah,
and I didn't know I had to, but I sat there. I told him, I said, hey, listen, let's address these things first. And my thing was like, listen, everybody's talking. When you come into the training business, everybody's talking about faster. They want you to be faster and stronger. Everybody talks about speed. We want you to be faster. We want you to be stronger. We want you to be more explosive. I came to him in a different way. I just like, well, I noticed you have nagging injuries I said, let's address those things. I said, by just addressing those things, what's going to happen? You're going to be better. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be faster. You're going to be more explosive. By just addressing the things that aren't allowing you to maximize your full potential. What are conferences like this put together for? To help you maximize your full potential.
Find those little nagging things, the nagging injuries that keep bugging you. I can't recruit. I can't seem to overcome these objections. I can't seem to, manage my time. I'm in over my head. I can't grow. Like,
right.
It's like, that's a nagging injury.
Right. Yes. So I said, let's address those. Once we address those things, you're automatically better. Then now, once we've addressed those things, now we'll work on the other stuff, on making you faster, making you able to jump higher, making you more explosive, making you stronger. But let's address what's right now that we can show immediate results that are going to show immediate results. And we did that relatively quickly. I said, give me 30 days to show you what I can do. And 30 days turned into 15 years. You have to be able to put yourself out there and back up what you say.
Yeah.
Most people are willing to stay. They put themselves out there, but they don't have the ability to back it up. They don't have the training. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the tools. They don't have the investment. They didn't invest enough time in themselves to actually back up
what they're trying to train on.
What they're trying to train on and what their goals really are.
And do you know how often that happens in our industry? So we're in a high recruitment industry, much like the network marketing business.
Sure.
Where it's very competitive. It's very, come work for my company, come work here. We have the best this, that, and then whatever, right? And what happens a lot of times is this management or these guys are saying, hey, I'll be your trainer. I'm giving you training. I'm giving you management, leading you. But they're really not able to pull the greatness out of every one of their reps. And I think that as a leader, if you're listening to this, or a manager or an owner or whatever, trying to lead your people, you got to look at yourself as almost like they're investing, your reps and people are investing their time and energy into you. You've got to be the guy that say, I can back up what I say. I can back up like why you should work here and keep earning your reps business every day, just like you would be earning Michael Jordan's business for 15 years. It's, I guess, what advice would you give to that leader, that mentor, that manager that's trying to pull the relentlessness, trying to pull the greatness out of their salespeople? What advice would you give that guy that's like kind of their trainer in a way? You know what I mean?
Pay attention to the details, because you can put everybody, when you start off, it's funny, whether you're sales or whatever it is, you put everybody in the same pool. And then all of a sudden you'll see how certain people react differently to certain situations, to the way you talk to them, the way they react to success, the way they react to failure, how resilient they are. And you have to be able to look at that individual and then give themselves, break them into a smaller group and say, hey, listen, we see these are your weaknesses. This is what you need to work on. This is what you need to work on. And you can't talk to everybody the same. You can't talk to everybody the same way. Everybody handles criticism. Everybody handles feedback in a different way. You have to invest your time into these individuals as individuals. And I know it's a lot, because there's a lot of that, you may have hundreds of people, but if you can find one factor about each individual and how it relates to them being successful. It could be something that's they're dealing with in a family situation, something that's happened to them from a competitive nature, whatever it is, whatever's led them down this path. And now they know that you're more to them than just an individual who's paying you to train them. You've actually invested your time into something that's more important to them, where from a personal standpoint, where you can actually really help them grow. It's like paying attention to each individual as an individual.
Love that, because so often we just pay attention to you. Have you sold or have you not sold today?
Right.
Like it's so surface level there, to where they're not looking at what's that deeper personal aspect of that guy's life, to say, how do we pull success out of him as an individual, not whether he just sells or not.
Right. And then, here's a thing I always say. Most individuals they're afraid of success. They want success, but they're afraid of it because they don't want to keep paying the price that comes with success. It's easy to look online and see somebody driving the cars, having the nice house, doing all that other stuff, but they don't understand the amount of payment. And I'm not talking about from a dollar standpoint that they have to keep doing in order to maintain that level of success, the commitment, the BS you have to put aside, the free time that goes away. Because everybody wants to, they're like, listen, yeah, I want to do what he's doing, but you know what? I still got to have my Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights to hang out with my boys and go out and party.
I need my video games. I need my this. I need my this.
Right. Okay, so what happens? You start negotiating with yourself. So once you start negotiating with yourself, you lose your ability to start negotiating with other individuals, because then you start talking yourself out of stuff.
Nugget. No, and think about that from a leadership standpoint, from a result standpoint, from a, in your book you talk about the difference between, and we haven't really talked about this a ton, but the cleaner, the closer, and the cooler.
Yes.
And it's like the cleaners are the ones that are probably willing to not negotiate with themselves.
They don't negotiate
It's
with
non-negotiable.
themselves.
They create non-negotiable rules that say, hey, I will do a set of 20, or I will run 5 miles, like, and they're not, or whatever the number is, or whatever the level of work or whatever that is, and they don't negotiate with themselves.
Right.
I love that. And the more you can negotiate with yourself, the more that you can't negotiate with other people.
Exactly. So, when my guys are working out, you get people always, trainers all say, well, what's the most important rep? Is it the first rep? Is it the rep 6? Is it the last rep? Is it every rep is important. Every rep is, the cleaners, every rep is important. Every door you knock on is important. I know it's a lot harder to knock on door 50 or 100 or how many you do on a particular day than it is, but the same enthusiasm you have knocking on that first door and how you knock on that door or ring the bell or how you stand, how people, when they first see you. Now, are you, when you get up in the morning and you look a certain way and then 20 doors later, okay, not your head's down, you have the wrong body, you're not, okay, I'm not letting, you got to show the same enthusiasm. So it's just like, listen, the same mindset you have when things are going well, you have to have the same mindset when things are not going well. So if you've knocked on 10 doors and you got 10 no's today, and yesterday you knocked on 10 doors and 3 of them said yes, the same mentality applies all the time. That relentless mindset applies all the time.
Every rep is important.
Every rep is important. Every knock is important. Every doorbell you push is important. Every greeting, every handshake, every presentation, everything is as important. You talk to the individuals that you said that do 100 million or 500 million, the 500 million is to say, what's the difference? We pay attention to the details. We pay attention to the details that nobody else thinks is important.
Love that. So, man, I have like goosebumps right now listening to this, guys, because he's a guy that doesn't come from our space, doesn't come from our background, and he's literally like hitting it on the head. I mean, if there's one thing you could teach somebody, it is that. And I appreciate you for saying what you just said, because I've been trying to beat this into people's heads for the last 15 years, and it's like every door. You don't know who's behind the door. You don't know when's your next deal. And if you show up given a half-ass rep and all of a sudden that was a potential deal, that could have been your one deal that you got that day, but you messed it up because you didn't knock it as important as you did the first door you knocked that day. Yeah. So I love that.
It's like when my guys take the shot. They shoot every shot as though it's going to go in. All right. Every shot isn't going to go in, but every knock on the door has to be as though the shot is going to go in.
Love that. Okay, so we're low on time, so I want to kind of do a rapid fire question that I just would be fun. This is more just like quick answer. I've had these questions. I'm sure some of you guys have. Do we have any other questions on the Facebook thread that have come through? Let me know. So if you have some questions, I maybe will take some from the Facebook Live. So, and you can say pass if this is too like, I don't want to get political here. Who is your favorite player to work with? Doesn't necessarily, like everybody says, oh, Michael Jordan's the coolest because he's the greatest, but like you probably had favorite people that you actually loved working with that were maybe even more from this gave me a lot of joy working with them. Is there one that you're like, man, I loved working with this one?
You know what? I treated all my athletes the same. Having to work with Charles Barkley was a lot of fun to be around with.
Yeah.
Tons of fun. One of the players that I don't talk about all the time is Gilbert Arenas. He had some issues, but Gilbert was one of the most intellectual. He was so smart about stuff other than basketball, so he could stimulate your mind in different ways. Each one brought something special. So I loved work. And what I would do is what one individual brought, I was able to pass it on to somebody else. So
because you could probably learn.
And that was the thing. Just, here's at this point, I know it's supposed to be a rapid fire, but going back, when you knock on the door, you have to be willing to understand that you're going to learn something from each door that you knock on.
Yes.
So that's, those great individuals, not only did they learn from every practice, every shot, every game, they learn from each other too.
Love that. Okay, so today world, who's an athlete that you never got to coach or train with that you'd love to work with in today's world? That you kind of look up to, that you're like, man, if I could train this guy, I feel like that'd be way fun.
I don't know if you know what? It's not. I think the reason a lot of athletes don't want to get involved with me is because it's not way fun.
Yeah, they're like, I don't.
Yeah,
he's way too hard on me.
Yeah, it's not. It's not way fun because a lot of the stuff that they consider fun is actually what's keeping them from being
the Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Exactly.
But for you, it's fun to watch them see success. But I mean, if you said, hey, I could pick one athlete and I know he's a 7 right now. He thinks he's a 10. He's a 7. I know he could be a 10.
I look at an individual like, let's say, a Kevin Durant.
Yes.
All right, who's coming off of a major injury. So a challenge for me would be like
picking a Kevin Durant.
Picking a Kevin Durant and not bringing him back as good, bringing him back better.
Isn't that what you did with Dwyane Wade?
Yes, because everyone says, you're never going to be as good as you were before the injury. And I agree with that statement. All right. You're not going to be as good. You're going to be better.
Yeah.
You're going to be better. In my mindset, yeah, you've had an injury, but in how you handle that injury from a mindset and physical standpoint, yeah, you're right. You're not going to be as good. You're going to be better. That's how I look at it as an individual. You're going to be better.
Because a lot of people probably have, it's so easy to probably ingrain in their mind, oh, my career shot because of this injury. It's like that's the triggering mental aspect that sends them down a downward spiral.
Right. And to me, an individual like Kevin, his best basketball is still ahead of him.
Love that. Okay, so if you were to go back and be a professional athlete in any sport, what would it be?
Oof. Race car.
Race car? You're a NASCAR guy?
Formula One.
Formula One?
Yeah, I love speed.
Love it.
Oh, I love speed, curves, and all that. I was like, if I had to do it all over again, I have no fear in the car.
That's fun.
I have no fear in the car.
We might have to go. Might have to go drive you around Utah today. Yeah. We'll go up some of these mountain roads. They're fun. They're fun. You whip around some of these turns. You're like, oh diggity. I used to have a Razor. We just sold it. I would have taken you up on. Dude, it is so fun. We'd rally that thing in the hills. It's fun. Okay, so what about this? If Michael Jordan, the difference between I think Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan are the two greatest players of basketball, in my opinion. I don't know if you would agree. But,
I do.
Okay. What was the differences between the two? Because obviously both two greats, but I'm assuming there's quite a bit of differences. We talk about similarities. They both worked their asses off, but
right. So here's the thing. Michael, he was just like, I hired you, get the job done. Kobe wanted to know every single detail. He wanted to know what this exercise was for, why we were doing it, why we're doing it on this particular day, why am I eating this, why are you having. He wanted to know every single detail because he wanted. Michael was just said, "This is what I trust you. Just get it done.
Interesting.
Just get it done."
Yeah, and I honestly, I don't think one necessarily is better than the other.
There isn't.
Yeah, both were the greats. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
They both worked in that way, but I'm sure they had differences. So
and that's the one thing. That's what I'm trying to say. You can be successful in whatever you decide to do. There's more than one way to do it. And that's why when you go to these conferences, you meet different people that have gotten extraordinary results in different ways. The speaking lineup, everyone's going to talk to you in a different mindset and a different values some will resonate with you, some won't, but you're definitely going to resonate with somebody in the group.
Yeah. Yeah. So, favorite book?
Relentless.
Well, I mean, other than Relentless, obviously, guys, we're going to be giving away his book. So if you tag somebody, each one of those tags is a entry into the raffle for his book signed. But other than Relentless, your favorite book?
My next book.
Your next book? I love it. Okay, favorite?
Hey, Tom Brady, you know what I was asking when they asked him what's his favorite championship ring is? He
My
always
next
says
one.
the next one.
That's great. Ooh, I might start using that. I'm gonna steal that, but I'll TM.
Yeah, all right.
I'll be like, well, Tim told me. Okay, so athletes today versus when Michael Jordan was in the league and the John Stocktons and Carmelones. Yes, shout out Utah Jazz, baby.
Yes.
No, but like you see probably a difference in the 18, 20-year-old athletes today. Differences today athletes versus 10, 15, 20 years ago. Is there any difference, or is there?
Well, today's athletes, are obviously more gifted from a athletic standpoint, but I think also because they're gifted from an athletic standpoint, they didn't have to work quite as hard. I mean, it was funny. You talk about when Karl Malone, I've watched him work out. The man was intense. Was like really.
He was like 6% body fat, 290 pounds,
yes,
like just
like
massive.
really intense. And then John Stockton, I saw him at the NBA pre-draft camp, which was held in Chicago. And that year, it was actually held at my university, and I got a chance to work it. And I watched him in the 3 days at the camp, and I knew right then he was going to be a pro. I was like, just the way he went. The preparation and the things he did, I was like, this guy's going to be he's not only going to be a pro, he's going to be a successful pro. I think the athletes back then handled adversity way better, and they were not as sensitive to media criticism.
Yeah.
A lot of the athletes now, they're so sensitive. They've already built, because of social media, and this isn't a bad thing, they've already built this this fan base. They've already built this high level.
Which probably gives them the dopamine hit that they're looking for versus the grind giving them that.
Yeah, so you have high school athletes that have 500,000 followers now.
And you're just like, it's hurting them because they already feel like they're in paradise when they're not.
And
there.
then when the first adversity hits, they don't know how to deal with it.
Love that. No, I could totally see that. And, it's just you're in a different world today. You have social media. You said some of your most successful individuals in your business are former athletes. Yeah.
Okay. They're used to getting knocked down. They're used to no's. They're used to knocking on doors and people not opening them up. All right? You have to have that competitiveness. You have to have that competitive fire, and you have to know how to translate it from whatever you do into the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
Love that. Well, let's end on that. So, guys, if you're watching this and you got something out of it, share this. If you're listening, share this and tag Tim Grover. I mean, he's definitely super excited to help our industry out and get involved in working and learning more about what we're doing. And excited to have you at Door to Door Con in January.
I'm looking forward to it. Do you have any comments? Our Instagram is @AttackAthletics. That's the business. Please, if there's one thing you get out of this, every athlete, every successful person, they invest in themselves. It's not the investment of the dollars. It's the investment of the time that will turn into the dollars.
Love that. Thank you so much for coming out and making this happen. So
thank you. You made it happen.
No, this is awesome. Thank you guys. Love it.
Take care.
Appreciate it.